And welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says he has received international support regarding his opposition to the proposed new lending terms of the World Bank, which, if implemented, may require shortened repayment periods and increase interest rates for St. Vincent and Grenadines and other Caribbean countries. On NBC Radio Face-to-Face program today, the Prime Minister stated that he sent out many letters and received positive responses, including from Canada, the U.S., and the United Kingdom, which support his position.
I sent out 600 letters across the world to all heads of government and heads of state, and I've received responses from many. Of course, three which have touched me greatly. One from Canada, one from the United Kingdom, and I got one from the US. This was written to President Biden, and he gave the letter to the Assistant Secretary of International Trade and Development at the U.S. Department of Treasury, Alexia Latautu, to respond. And it's nearly 2 full pages of response. And they are evincing support for my position. They are not unsympathetic to the point that I'm making. Same thing with the British, same thing with the Canadians.
The Prime Minister said he also took the fight on the road to Antigua at the recently concluded SITS4 conference, which is attended by World Bank representatives. He is awaiting a final decision to be made at the end of the year.
And to use the words of my dear sister Mia Motley, since I'm raising all these objections and I'm saying you can't pit the vulnerable like St. Vincent and Grenadines against the poor, right. The most vulnerable against the poorest. You can't do that. That our position appears to be getting traction. And to use Mia's language, let us give that proposal a decent burial. you know, because I've lined up support from CARICOM. Got countries responding from Latin America, from Europe, from Asia. Yet here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what a radio station opposed to Ralph, I'm talking about Hot 97, but they talk a lot of things they don't know about. And they're more interested in headlines to see if they can do opposing. And their line was, well, we will see who would win here, the World Boss or the World Bank, you know, who's stronger. I can't be stronger than the World Bank. That's not the idea. But I'm the Prime Minister of a country where we are going to suffer certain limitations if the terms are hardened. And with all my experience and with all my profile, and at my skills at articulating these matters, and I know that people will listen. Also
on radio today, Prime Minister Gonsalves outlined the fiscal operations of the government for the month of May. Speaking on its prudence and enterprise, the Prime Minister noted that the country is holding its own, but it's still not yet out of the woods.
Meaning always, we have to address the question with prudence and enterprise. You can't be profligate, but you can't be austere. You can't impose austerity, but you can't be a spendthrift to spend money in an irresponsible manner. That's why I say prudence and enterprise. They're two wonderful young ladies, or two wonderful ladies to be kept in tandem. Miss Prudence and Miss Enterprise.
Miss Enterprise.
And let them be, because the enterprising part is to facilitate.
According to the Prime Minister, compared to May 2023, total revenue and grants are up by 8% from $295.8 million to $319.5 million this year.
For the current revenue alone, that's the current revenue. That is the taxes which we collect in the various forms. We are up 11.3% from last year at the end of May, from 278.9 to 310.3. And all of the main tax heads, we have seen improvements. Even though the tax relief given by the Ministry of Finance in the previous, in the budget, gave away far more, as I've shown more than one time, than was imposed. For instance, the individuals, taxes from individuals, we are down slightly from 38.8 million to 38.2 million as personal taxes.
Okay.
But what happens there? Remember, we jumped the number up to above which you don't pay any taxes, above which you don't pay any taxes. Sorry, below which you don't pay any taxes, up to $25,000 annually. But the fact that it is not down much would tell you that a lot more people are employed and are employed above $25,000 annually. Huh?
The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, AICA, recently hosted the annual accountability seminar, the AAS, here in SVG at the French's House. The AAS provides the Institute with an opportunity to report to stakeholders on AICA's activities in the country in support of the development of agriculture and rural life. AICA says the seminar is an important component of the institutional culture of accountability to those for whom it provides services, national authorities and other stakeholder organizations, groups and individuals. In delivering the welcoming remarks at the opening ceremony of the seminar, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Larissa Gittins-Macmillan, spoke on the importance of agriculture and the work of AICA in giving agriculture the prominence it deserves.
And if you have listened to my chief, you would hear him say, lament all the time, agriculture is a science and not just something that you pull up when all else fails, but that it represents a science just as any of the others. So whether you do the chemistry and the biology and all the other thing, agriculture falls within that category. And therefore, it's not just for individuals who not so bright. You know, that is how it is being sold, because it's not so bright for the people, or that it entails only drudgery, hard work, and all the other things that go along with that. But for those of us who have been working with ICA for the year, we would know that ICA has been trying, has made every effort to give agriculture the sort of prominence it so deserves. Through the effort of AICA, a number of us within this room have benefited in one way or the other.
AICA's regional representative Greg Rollins said the Institute has embraced accountability as one of the core values in seeking to strengthen the position of the Institute.
The accountability process is therefore one of the key components of the Institute's integrated management system, which includes evaluation of institutional performance, monitoring, and follow-up of cooperative actions, audits, and mechanisms for feedback and learning. However, as we engage our attention to the issue of accountability, I want us to be mindful of the wider development context for agriculture and rural life in our space here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, the wider Eastern Caribbean States region, and the wider Caribbean community. As you're all very, very well aware, we are living in very challenging times for the farming community, not only in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the wider region. We are all familiar with many of these challenges, which include the increasing impact of climate change, from droughts to storms, diminishing acreages of agricultural land lost to competing industries such as construction, the challenges with availability of labor due to aging farming population and a gravitation of the young labor force to other occupations in tourism and construction and the like, the impact of exotic pests and diseases and the impacts such as St. Vincent has already encountered some such as Moko, black sigatoka, and more recently the giant African snail. And yet on the horizon we have TR4 in bananas and the African swine fever, to name some that are particularly troubling and for which we must ever be prepared. We also have the scourge of larceny and generally low levels of investment in the sector by a somewhat risk-shy private sector. And we can go on and on. Within this space, onus is therefore on all of us to respond in a concerted way that ensures that we are able to change the trajectory of the agricultural sector across the region.
Rollins said there is a need to adopt innovative approaches to agricultural development by finding new and better ways of doing things to cut costs, be more productive and competitive.
We must be able to adopt new and improved technologies, but technologies that are appropriate for our circumstances, that are cost effective, and that we can manage and maintain effectively. But to my mind, and something I always speak about, is the issue of organization and coordination. To ensure that our approach is a collective one, respectful and supportive of the efforts of all of the partners, and in line with the wider agenda for development. In other words, one institution cannot do it on its own. We all need to work together in a coordinated effort if we're going to have an impact on the agricultural sector. And this not only applies to what we do at the level of government and the development partners, but among the agricultural sector, the stakeholders on the ground. Farmers, fishers have to come together in groups, whether it be formal or informal, so that you can benefit from the economies of sharing your resources, whether it be from input supply or collective efforts to market. This is the only way we're going to build strong value chains that will allow us to be able to compete on a sustained basis. We need investment in research that works for us with careful attention to where we place our efforts. And obviously, we need strong extension services to ensure the transfer of information and technology to our farming communities and the wider public. We also need to pay particular attention to the conservation and sustainable use of our rich biodiversity we have around us and our soil and land resources. We need to ensure that we adopt sustainable practices so that we have these resources for the future generations.
The ICA representative further told the seminar that notwithstanding the challenges and major shocks which have occurred in recent times, the agriculture, forestry and fisheries sector continues to be a major contributor to the economic development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
This is readily reflected in their contribution to gross value added, which in 2023 amounted to EC 109.15 million, and in 2022, 112.45 million EC dollars. The sector's importance is also reflected in its contribution to employment, which stood at 13.1% of the labor force in 2017. Agriculture, and more recently fisheries, though to a small extent, are significant foreign exchange earners with important markets for a range of agricultural commodities across the region, and especially in countries such as Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and other countries in the northern leewards. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, through its primary institution for agricultural development, the Ministry of Agriculture, has invested in a very robust program for the development of the primary sectors of agriculture, fisheries, and forestry. And I wish to commend Minister Sabota Caesar, Permanent Secretary Gittins, and the staff of the ministry for pursuing many initiatives and projects which we are confident will boost domestic production and trade. It is within this context that I submit, therefore, that we devote some attention to that conversation we should be having about how we collectively build our agricultural industries and value chains such that they are resilient and that they are able to respond and rebound from whatever shocks in a robust manner. That is where we would like to focus our attention, and to know within this general conversation what should be the role of ICA, fully understanding that we are a technical cooperation institution.
In other local news now, we hear that lawyer and politician Luke Brown said St. Vincent and the Grenadines' decision to host matches for the ICC T20 World Cup 2024 should not be seen solely as a dollars and cents matter, even though there are several benefits to the economy.
But in relation to the dollars and cents matter, you're talking about the benefits that may be derived from it, and that just one match justifies the investment fully from the ICC standpoint. But more than just what is happening at the ICC level, we look at what is taking place on the ground locally there in New York. It says the Long Island hospitality industries made more than $150 million in revenue. $150 million in revenue. So despite the fact that I said that it's not a financial decision and that there's more to it than dollars and cents, and I think that that sentiment in particular was echoed by the Prime Minister when he spoke at what I would describe as the unveiling of the facility. It's not about dollars and cents, but despite that, there are tangible economic benefits to be derived.
Brown said investing in sports is an important public policy and that he is looking forward to further investments in other sporting facilities across the country.
We improved the Sign Hill playing field. Incidentally, there have been practice sessions at the Sign Hill playing field as well, and we have improved the facility at Cumberland playing field. And in respect of this World Cup, we should also keep in mind that apart from the substantive games which are being played now, Nepal came here and they played some, well, I suppose, preparatory games out at Park Hill. So cricket is spread out throughout this country. You see how we go from the North Leeward side to the Kingston side, the urban locations, and we got all the way out to the countryside as well on the windward flank. Perhaps we need to have some facilities developed in the Grenadines so we could have some regional competitions, maybe on an island like Beckway or an island like Union Island, or maybe somewhere in the Grenadines in general, space and facilities permitting. So we definitely looking forward to further investments in sports and in facilities, both for cricket and for other sports in general. So thank you for that input there, caller. And
in the 72 hours weather outlook, the SVG Met Service says a ridge pattern is dominating the weather conditions across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with fair to partly cloudy skies and brief light showers, which could interrupt warm conditions within the next 24 hours. It says late Thursday into early Friday, unstable conditions should affect the islands and trigger a few scattered showers. In addition, a tropical wave will approach the islands around Saturday afternoon. Moderate to fresh easterly to east-southeasterly trades are expected to cross the islands over the next few days, becoming east-northeasterly on Saturday. Seas are expected to be slight to moderate in open waters, with swells peaking near 1.0 meters on the western coast and ranging between 1.5 to 2.0 meters on the eastern coast. Saharan dust concentrations are slight but could increase from late Thursday and reduce visibility and air quality across our islands. On the local scene now, we hear that a third killing in 3 days has been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The latest victim has been identified as 34-year-old Dwayne Jacobs of Paul Over. Residents reportedly heard multiple gunshots and called the police. However, according to Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, ACP Bailey, the body was only found today close to a river a few meters below the deceased's home.
So what I can confirm is that sometime last night, after 9:30 p.m., police would have responded to a call at several gunshots. Police came on the scene, checked, and they did not discover anyone. Later this morning, we came back to do a further search of the area, and the discovered the body of Dwayne Jacobs just around the embankment by the riverside, where what appeared to be several gunshot injuries. The doctor came on the scene and pronounced him dead, and the scene has been processed, and homicide investigation is has been launched into the circumstances surrounding his death. He was living right here on the upper floor of this house.
ACP Bailey said they are working diligently to gather all necessary information to bring those responsible for Jacob's killing to justice. Jacobs reportedly sustained multiple gunshot wounds and a broken right foot. Noting the rampant killings over the past few days, ACP Bailey appealed to those with criminal intent to stop the killings.
It's going to be a lot of hard work, slow work. You will appreciate the area where this happened. It's lonely, very dark. So we have to do the work. You know, we have to do the work, and we make the appeal to persons who have these illegal firearms and persons among community who are criminally minded to stop. Put it bluntly, stop. We have to stop this killing. The country is crying out for the amount of blood that is being shed, and it just has to stop.
There was a quiet period in the month of May with no killings, coinciding with the end of the National Gun Amnesty at the end of the month. On Sunday, May 16th, a man from Morris Village was killed. On Tuesday, a watchman at a school for special needs in Kingstown was found dead with his throat slashed. Last night's killing in Paul Over was at the hands of a gunman or gunmen. ACP Bailey said clearly there are still too many illegal guns on the streets.
There are still several guns in the wrong hands out there on the streets in Seven Standing Granite. And you know, we just concluded an amnesty where some 18 weapons were handed in. But it is quite evident that there are still weapons out there on the streets that need to be in the hands of the police and not in the hands of the criminals who are using them. So it tells me that we still have quite a lot of work to be done, and we're prepared to do it.
Meanwhile, ACP Bailey said one person is in custody, assisting the police with their investigations into the killing of watchman Gary Glasgow. Trafficking in persons will be highlighted here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, with two major activities planned to observe World Day Against Trafficking in Persons on July 30th, 2024. Speaking at a news conference today, head of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit, ASP Junior Simmons, said that SVG had one case of trafficking in persons, which puts the country in a positive light, but awareness remains a priority.
What I can say is that so far, we have only arrested and charged one individual for human trafficking in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That matter went before the court and it was dismissed for lack of sufficient evidence. Since then, we haven't charged anyone for human trafficking. We have been focusing very heavily on the 4 Ps of trafficking, which are prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. But we have been focusing more on the preventative aspect of it. And we believe that our drive in awareness raising has helped greatly in minimizing incidents of human trafficking in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
ASP Simmons said the upcoming activities will include a poster competition, which will be held in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
So our first activity is called Stop Trafficking in Persons Poster Competition. And for this competition, we are partnering with the Ministry of Education. So we are targeting the students in the various schools across our nation. And this competition is open to 3 different categories of students: ages 7 to 10, 11 to 14, and 15 to 18. The students would be tasked to create or use their creative imagination to prepare a poster, a painting or drawing depicting the theme for UN World Day Against Trafficking Persons.
The theme for this year's World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is Leave No Child Behind in the Fight Against Human Trafficking. As part of the day's activities, a rally will be held involving all schools across St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The event that we will be hosting as part of our observance of UN World Day Against Trafficking in Persons would be a march and rally around Kingston. And this will be held on the day itself, July 30th, which will be a Tuesday. So we are hoping to start the march from 10 o'clock at Heritage Square. We march along Bay Street. We make a right turn onto Bedford Street, make another right turn onto Halifax Street, and return right back to Heritage Square, where the rally would be held. And during this rally, there would be speeches, cultural presentations. There will be a charge as well to the participants, and information brochures and other paraphernalia dealing with human trafficking would also be on display at booths.